Hey guys, my name is Nate and I'm the Otter Outdoorsman. Today we're going to go over different methods of striking a ferro rod. This is a Swedish fire steel. I also have a couple of that we'll use, and I have some tinders that we're also going to demonstrate on. There's multiple methods of striking a ferro rod, and what we'll do is we'll demonstrate them to you, tell you their advantages and disadvantages, and we'll work from there. I do apologize about any background noise, as there is apparently an event going on around me, which is attracting a helicopter and a lot of music. So what we'll do is I'll get the camera set up so that we can best demonstrate it, and we'll go from there. See you in a second. Okay guys, so I have multiple styles of ferro rods that right here. So for one, we have one of my first ones that I started using with, and then I started using other ones, which is just your generic ferro rod. You can generally, you can get these cheap at almost any outdoor shop. Generally like Dick's or Walmart, you can get these at. They're pretty good with different strikes, and they give off a good spark. Then you have ones like this. I learned about, or I saw the power of these ones from both Joe at Ferro Woodcraft and also Chris. I've met him at both the basic and the advanced woodsman courses. Chris over at Survive and Thrive. We ended up calling this the fire wand. Sends off a shower of sparks. It's great. Then you get these mag bars. This is one of my favorite ones I have. It's the friendly Swede one, where you scrape off the different amounts of magnesium, and then you take the ferro rod and you strike it. Bam. And then you have this one, which is one I've been recently kind of playing around with, the Swedish fire steel, which is, strikes decently. Actually, it strikes pretty well. So, you also have different types of strikers. You have like this cheap one that comes with it. You also, the firesteel.com striker, which has become one of my favorites. You also can get different hacksaw blades. I've seen thick, I've seen them heavy, I've seen flimsy. The friendly Swede one is actually my favorite one I've ever had. You can also use the spine of your knife or anything with a 90-degree angle. Some people use the spine of their knife. Now these are all valid methods. I'm not saying any of these methods are bad, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you different striking methods. I'm going to get the Fire Lab over, and what we're going to do is I'm going to show you different methods of striking a ferro rod and the advantages of using different methods for different materials, or basically how it sends off the shower of sparks, because each method is good and each method brings its own advantages and disadvantages to lighting a fire. So let's get you set up and we'll go from there. So let's start with everyone's favorite method. It's very common within the community. It's generally good. What I generally call the pull and pray method, spray and pray, shotgun method. Generally, it's a method used where often what people will do is they'll take the spine of their knife, and essentially what they'll do is they'll plant their knife. Then once you got to clear off the residue on it. And see, what this does is this sends a shower of sparks into the material. And voila. Now, there are different advantages and disadvantages to this method. It does work, so don't get me wrong. I do use this method. My biggest problem with this method is a knife. You're basically having exposed an entire blade, which is a potential safety risk. You notice it did send off a shower of sparks, and it's good if you have a big tinder bundle, because then you can just do that and it just launches into it. Using that massive tinder bundle usually allows you to hit areas and increase the chance of fire. Now, the next method is one of the ones I use a lot more. So what we'll do is we'll get some more seed heads. Now this is one of my more favorite methods. So now the method is you plant your ferro rod in the tinder, you take your striker, you first kind of scrape a little bit to clear off the space and also put some, and then what you do is a more direct approach. I like it because it is a lot more direct. It gets the sparks where I want it, and generally in that location they're a lot hotter. If you have a lot more marginal material, like say this birch polypore, which is a little wet, so I'm not sure if this will go. It's covered in milkweed fluff. Another good method is you put the ferro rod on it, and if you have a lot more marginal material, what you can do is you can just lay into it with sparks. And it's literally just I've heard it called the shower it with sparks method. Problem with this, I'm supposed to dry this out. I'll let that dry. So, what we'll do is we'll just crumple up this birch bark, and we'll just say this is marginal, because it, well, is. Well, basically what you can do, doing it this way, essentially build up a hot spot and boom, fire. It's good with marginal materials or materials that don't want to light up easily. Essentially, again, what you do is you just continuously strike on the ferro rod, and that lights it up. So, another valid method is, see a fluffy stuff, what you can do, which is a more direct motion, is the whole, voila. That one's if you want to directly flame it. I mean, that was just flash control, that stuff was going to light anyways, but, and if you get good at it, you can send hot sparks. I'm still learning this method, but I'm getting a lot better, and that's why I had the Swedish fire steel, because generally the only fire steel I've been able to do it with is this one. Oops. But it like literally launches it. The other method I've seen is just, your simple method of, which is the one everyone always learns first, with that is still smoking, which is that. There's advantages and disadvantages of just doing this. you send a good shower of sparks, but it's not as easily aimed. You have a chance of, boom, slipping and, hitting your hand into your tinder bundle. And it's generally the best way of doing it with this way is you kind of do a two-prong attack. You move your hand forward as you pull your hand back. Kind of do this. And it allows, and you kind of press down with this hand. And you pull up with this. So it's kind of, you do opposite forces. So, boom. And it sends showers of sparks. Now, the method I tend to use with these, so the Swedish fire steel, or the Swedish mag bar. So the method I tend to use is I'll actually use this. So what I'll tend to do, it's actually good to first sit there and just kind of scrape some magnesium into whatever it is you're using. And then what I tend to do is, now that that's all in one direct location, I'll plant this straight up. And then what we'll do is, it puts the spark exactly where you want it, but the disadvantage of that method is your hands is like right in it. But it does, advantage is the spark goes right where you want it. As I said, all of these have their advantages, disadvantages. I think I forgot to mention some of the other disadvantages where the shower of sparks, the problem with it is you have a good chance of burning yourself if you're just kind of doing this. You also can, destroy your ferro rod that way if it's really marginal. But if you're doing this, like, it applies good heat to the location, but the problem is my hands get caught. But I wouldn't want to do this with a knife, is because the knife would, there's a good chance it's hard to, in my opinion, it's hard to wield it that way. The advantage of doing it this way is the fact that I like it because it puts the direction to it, but the disadvantage of it is, again, your hand's right in the fire, and I occasionally do burn myself that way. But I like it because it's very directional. The advantage, again, the advantage of this one, again, is the direct application of heat and the minimal movement. The disadvantage of it, if you're not experienced with it, it's a little bit harder to do, and you also need the right type of metal, mixed metal for that. And the advantage, again, of this method is the shower of hot sparks. But the problem I end up having sometimes is that shotgun actually does sometimes come back and burn me, as it did right there. Also, the disadvantage of it is, while it gives that good shower of sparks that you're seeing, it's not accurate. It's really just spray everywhere and hope to catch something on fire. Which, again, big tinder bundle means, that will catch. But I've had sparks fly past my shoulder before, which, in my opinion, really not that great. So I'm going to actually keep some of this flesh. So we'll do one more with the milkweed pods. So what we'll do is we'll take out these. And what we'll do is we'll open this up. And we'll just give you some fire. Because why not? We all like fire. Fire is great. Probably now going to get milkweed in my backyard. There's also this method, which is, I mean, if you have material like that, it will go up instantly. The whole just doing it that way. Not my favorite method, because you don't get great sparks. But also, you want to have a good striker. This one, if you notice, is very thin, as opposed to the fire steel one, which I just misplaced. There it is. If you want to compare them, I prefer strikers. They're safer than knives. But this is just me adding information to the thought pool. You always want to pick your favorite method. I have multiple different ones, and I like how I do it. I hope you enjoy how you go about striking, and you have a good day. Be safe. Don't set too much things on fire, and have a good day. My name is Nate, and I'm the Otter Outdoorsman, and this is different methods of striking a ferro rod.